I guess the more you participate in this session, the more you're going to get out of it. My big promise is that we're going to do an intention setting process that's going to have you fired up, ready to rock and roll into 2025. I want you to finish this sentence for me. Sometimes you win, sometimes you either shout it out or type in the chat box. Sometimes you win, sometimes you... What we need to do is we need to identify what would actually help smooth this out. What would make it a 10 out of 10? That may seem like a small change, but how we define ourselves is how we show up.
If just one question could immediately transform the quality of your life or the results of your business, would you want to know what that question was? Life and business strategist Kevin Bees interviews success masters to discover their life-changing questions. Welcome to the Life-Changing Questions Podcast.
Welcome. It's so good to be here with you today, and I'm really excited for the amazing topic that we have, which is how to make 2025 the most profitable and fulfilling year yet. Now, you guys are in the peak of everyone because we had a decent amount of people sign up. And I think that's what's going to put you ahead of everyone else as we come into 2025. So I'm excited to give you, and we have a small group. So the cool thing about that is, feel free to unmute if you want to ask a question at any point. We can certainly do that, or be active in the chat box. I guess the more you participate in this session, the more you're going to get out of it. And that's how I've designed today. Is going to be all about you taking action and making sure that you leave the call with a very clear plan. So it's going to be my big promise is that we're going to do an intention setting process that's going to have you fired up, ready to rock and roll into 2025. Now, of course, I know all of you on this call, we've all had the opportunity to meet and speak, and certainly in the recent periods. Jim's been a little bit longer for us, my friend. maybe quite a few years since we last spoke. But the rest of you, I know you're already doing great things in your business, and this is just going to have you feeling so much clearer. Now, I don't want to make this too much about me. I had that video up front so I can talk less about myself and get more into what we need to do. But just as a quick background, the three things to know about me. Number one is I focus my work on maximizing profitability for business owners. That's my number one aim. As a result of that, I've been doing a lot this year and last year in AI. So I don't describe myself as an AI expert. I describe myself as an AI champion. And I am tapped into a team of researchers on that. So 6 researchers internationally. I'm learning some pretty cool tools and tips and tricks. So happy always to share any of those insights with you as well in the future. And I'm a top 5% podcaster. So we're in the top 5% of podcasts globally. So if you haven't listened to us, I can highly recommend it. We get some amazing guests on there. It's currently called Life-Changing Questions. And we're rebranding that at the beginning of the year. But now, just very quickly, I do all my work one-on-one these days, and I do get the privilege of presenting in different places. So nationally and internationally, I think we're up to 12 countries now. And what I want to share with you today in terms of the intention setting process, I think it's important that we don't just focus on our business, but our business is a vehicle for us to have the kind of life and the lifestyle that we want. So I want to make sure that we're designing 2025 with the kind of vision that you want in mind. What do you want to create? What experiences do you want to create for your family and, and for the people in your life? I want to make sure that you create everything that you want to create. So why this session is going to be different then, I'm going to give you the exact blueprint to get clear on what you want to create in 2025. And I'm going to give it to you in a way that's step by step. We're just going to, go through a series of questions now. And by the end of it, you're going to have, a lot of clarity over what you want. The other important thing is I want to make sure that you're connected to your emotions in this process, because if we can get clear on the core emotions you want to experience and create, then we can find a route to access those sooner. Sometimes we don't have to go and create that thing or get that goal. We can find a way of having those emotions and those experiences much sooner. Now, I promised 2 things on this. One, to help you create the success that you want in 2025, and to make sure you walk away with a plan. Now, I know that's ambitious in the time that we have, so I want to gift you some free things, some things that you can have and use after this session. So session number 1, as you reflect on 2024, I wonder how much profit have you leaked this year? What are potentially the gaps that you have? Now, the quickest way for me to help you with that is if you wanted to scan the QR code on here, it's going to take you to an assessment. And within 2 or 3 minutes, you can do this after the call, 2 or 3 minutes, it will help you identify where are your biggest gaps, where are your opportunities, okay? The average score on this assessment is around about 18, I think is the score, 18 out of the 35 or so questions that we have. So I'd love for you to just get a copy of that one, scan that one with your QR code, and then fill that one afterwards, and that's going to give you a big insight as to where your gaps are. Now, assuming you've all managed to grab a copy of that, then once you find that out, you're probably also going to need some ideas on how do we plug those gaps and how do we fill them in. I've got a pre-made report on that one as well. This one is 125 free and easy to implement money maximizing opportunities. So this represents some of the best ideas I've got from some of the best business advisors globally. I've spent a lot of time now over the last 2 decades learning from some very, very key people, and people who've used this report have actually told me that they've made thousands of dollars just off of implementing some of the things in here. It only take you 10, 15 minutes to read through it. So yeah, feel free to download that one and have a copy of that one as well. So once you've got those two, then I think we are ready to rock and roll and to jump into this process then. So when I worked with Tony Robbins, he said something to me and it really stuck. He said, what you focus on expands. What you focus on expands. And I think that's so true. We can always put our energy into what's wrong and what's not working, and we're going to create more of that. Or we can focus on, hey, what are the things that we're really loving? What are the things that we're doing great? And we put our energy into that. We're going to create more of that. So I want to start today's call then with this question: what are you grateful for? Because if we can get you into a feeling of gratitude for what you have in your life, what you already have, then we start playing this game from a place of what's great, what are our strengths, what's awesome for us, as opposed to coming from a place of lack or fear. So I'd like you to write down now, what are you grateful for? Come up with at least 10 things, right? Even if you've had a tough year, a tough month, there's always things you can be grateful for. Maybe you're grateful that, you're here. I asked this out to someone once and they said they're grateful that, every day they can get out of bed. They're grateful. They're grateful to have the health, maybe the family or the friends or the clients, or the fact that they live in an amazing country. And once you have done that, once you've got those, just type in the chat box for me, done, or even if you want, write the number one thing. You actually write the number one thing you're grateful for. Great job, Tony. You're fast. Hey, Tony, whilst the others are finishing up, I wonder if you can share with us what was your number one, what's the thing you're most grateful for? Feel free to type it in the chat box, Tony.
Actually, my number one was my family, Kevin.
Yeah, beautiful. You and Paul have the same values on that one. Paul's also written family, so that's wonderful. And then for the rest of you, just maybe another 10, 15 seconds. If you've got number one thing that you're grateful for, just give us a shout. Let us know. Feel free to type it in the chat box. Otherwise, in the interest of going through this whole process, I am going to press on to our next question. Because once we're feeling grateful, I'd love for you to now reflect on 2024 and ask, what were your wins for 2024? As you look back across the whole year, what really went great? Now, this could be in the context of business, but this can also be in the context of personal as well. Maybe you had some personal wins. As I look back across my year of 2024, a big one for me was actually getting to London and doing the London Marathon. And it was a win because everything was stacked against me, So maybe write down for yourself, like just every win you can think that you had this year, just start writing them down. Tim, yeah, grateful for living in one of the most beautiful places in the world. Tim, I totally agree. It's we are very fortunate to live here in Australia. Tony, awesome. You responded to change and staying on course to follow your passion and purpose. I love that. Yeah, you had some changes in the year, and you're in a really great spot now. I'm excited for your 2025 already, Tony. And this is so important from a human behavior and psychology perspective, because the more we notice the wins, the more wins we have to notice. I got to tell you, as entrepreneurs, as a group of people, we suck at recognizing the wins. We're so focused on doing all of the things that we, here are all these things I haven't done yet, all these things I still need to get to, that we actually stop counting, and noticing the wins. Wow, Tony, amazing. That's a big win. 27th marathon. That's mind blowing. Feel free to unmute again. I'd love to hear. Where do you do that one? Very proud. 27 marathons, incredible. Ultra marathons, Ironman. Yeah, very inspiring. Cool. I love that. It's always great to hear more cash flow, paying down debts, better clients, right people around you. That's wonderful. Alan, you very kindly written in the box. Got married. Congratulations. That's fantastic. Your systemization is going amazingly. 52 weeks of class plans, so it can be delivered by your coaches. social media manager, and cut expensive subscriptions. A legend. It sounds like a fantastic year. Well, wonderful. This sounds like some really inspiring wins that have happened this year. And yeah, some inspiration there for me as well when I hear about some of your trips and the things you accomplished. It's amazing. Let's talk about the next section on this then. If I can find my mouse back to where it needs to be. So what was the best thing you manifested in 2024? It sounds like you kind of, a lot of you have written your number one here. So we just reflect on that. What was the best thing for you out of that? And once you're clear on what that is, I'd like you to just answer for yourself. Why? Why was that the best thing out of all of the things you had? Why was that the best one? Once you're clear on what the best thing was and why, we're going to leverage that as we go through this. Having that awareness is really going to help us move forward. Now we've got very clear on what we're grateful for, what our wins were. It's good to take a look back and do something else. I want you to finish this sentence for me. Sometimes you win, sometimes you either shout it out or type it in the chat box. Sometimes you win, sometimes you...
Pro.
Yeah, nice. Who was that? High five to you. You got my trick. A lot of people are saying sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And I like to just rewire that, say sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. Right. As we look back across the year, there are some things. Yeah, sometimes you win, sometimes you get a correction. So I'd like for us to take a look and see, what were some of the biggest challenges we had in 2024? As you look back across your year, what are the things, that have been challenging for you? Or maybe you've got some challenges that persist now. What are some of the biggest challenges that you kind of still see right in front of you? So just maybe take a minute or two to write down what are those biggest challenges. Tony, thank you for sharing. That's some big challenges. Being made redundant 3 times in 12 months and 227 knockbacks. That's man, I like the way you account. You keep track of everything. That's amazing. It's great that you kept persisting and you landed with your dream role. Isn't that good? Persistence is a word that I would relate to you for sure. Alan, yes, learning to manage your managers. Yeah, as your business grows, you're having to rely on them more and more, aren't you? That's amazing. And maintaining the quality and keeping the members happy, through the team, without you being there. That's major. That's a big challenge. It sounds like you made some pretty big progress. Whilst you've gone through your challenges then, I'd love for you to reflect, like, what did you learn from these challenges? There's, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. What was the insights? Sometimes these challenges are sent to us so that we get a message and we learn something. Once you're clear on your lesson, Tony, continuing to inspire and find ways to push and lead my teams to stay on course and follow our track of continued success and growth, both personally and professionally. Great learning, great insight. Okay. Hopefully the rest of you have identified some learnings from this and something that we can apply moving forwards. Because once we're clear on the learning, I want to take a step back and maybe ask a bigger question, which is, what do you know about yourself now, or what do you know about the universe that you didn't know at the start of 2024? What's a new insight or wisdom about yourself or the universe? Yeah, I love that one, Alan. Trust the universe and let go. That's a really great insight. Anyone else have one to share as well? Anything else that you know? Feel free to type in the chat box, unmute. 95% of your worries never happen, and believe in the impossible. Yeah, that's also true as well, isn't it? I love these two are great. Do you have any more? I'd love to hear. Maybe there's one more. If anyone wants to unmute or type. Support is all around us. Just need to open our eyes and ears. Yeah, this is great. God, this is so cool. I'm going to take some screenshots of these. These are good motivational quotes for my social media later. So this is awesome. So yeah, it's amazing, Paul. Support is all around us. And I guess it depends on your belief systems around that as well. I had a really powerful coaching session once with one of my mentors. And one thing she opened me up to was the idea that support is all around us from the people in the network around us, but actually we're even being supported by things that we can't see, things, beyond us, whether that's, past loved ones and things like that. So there's actually support coming in all directions, which is, back to Alan's point, trust the universe, let go, and 95% of your worries will never happen. So these are some really great insights. Then let's jump into the next bit then. One of the key things that I get is that success is holistic. I've met so many business owners who put all their energy and all their time into their business, but it comes at the cost of maybe their health or their relationships or something else. And no one wants to be in that position. We don't want to build an amazing business and then find that everything else around us has crumbled. So I think if we're going to have an amazing 2025, we actually want to plan and make sure it's 2025. So I'd like to do this activity with you. If you can, on a piece of paper, take up most of the page and draw a circle. And when you draw that circle, I'd like you to divide it into kind of 8 pizza slices, if you will. And this is going to give us a very good visual representation of where we're at right now, in our version of holistic success. And then we're then going to be able to use this to identify, well, where do we need to go in 2025? So once you've drawn that circle and you have that, I'm going to get you to label them. And we're going to label them as health, wealth. I'll pop them all up on the screen quickly, and you can write them down as we go to each segment. I'll explain each one. Health, wealth, time, family, friends, intimate partner, emotion and meaning, growth, and contribution. So I'll go through each one of these at a time so you can write them as we go. So number 1 on health, you can see here in the middle, I put a 0, and on the outer line is a value of 10. So I'd like you to rate where you at in your area of health right now. So if you were like 10 out of 10, you're in the best physical shape you could ever be, you would shade in that whole segment. If you were, say, maybe, around, what's that, 7 out of 10, you would probably shade in 7/10. If you're at, 1, you shade in 1/10. So just on the area of health, just identify, where are you at right now? If 10 out of 10 is peak health, the best you can be, where would you rate yourself? Just shade that in on your diagram. All right. Okay. Once you've done that, then let's move on to wealth. And again, the outer line, 10 out of 10 is like wealth. You have, all the access to all the wealth that you need. Or 0 out of 10 is like you just know where you want to be. Like the wealth is a stress. So if on this one, I think I've kind of picked like a 4 or 5 out of 10. Just, give yourself a rating there. Shade in the appropriate component. Once you've given yourself a rating on wealth, let's talk about time. So with time, we all have the same amount of hours in a day, 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. So we can't really get more time. This is more of a question of, are we getting to use time in the way that we want, right? So sometimes we feel like we're overwhelmed and there's just not enough time in the day. Or, other times we feel like we're just, we've got too much time, don't know what to do with it. I'd probably like to lean more that way in 2025 and find a bit more of a balance there. And so this is more about, are we getting to use time in the way that we want? Do you get to feel as though you're using it as you like? So if you feel like time is your friend and, it works for you, 10 out of 10. If you feel like you're completely out of control with time, 0 out of 10. So give yourself a rating in there. Where would you give yourself? On this example, I've done like a 3 out of 10, 2 or 3 out of 10. I've just shaded in that component. Yeah, that's good. Okay, great. You guys are moving fast, and I'll move a little bit quicker. Family and friends then. So 10 out of 10 if you have amazing connection with your family and friends. 0 out of 10 if you never see them, don't like them, don't enjoy being around them, whatever it is. Do you have the kind of like the peer group that you want? Do you have the connections that you want with your family? In this example, I've done like maybe a 5 out of 10, something like that. So where would you rate your family and friends? Not where would you rate them? I'm sure they're great people, but where would you rate your level of connection with them? And then distinct to that, we're going to draw out separately your intimate partner or intimate relationship. So if you have an amazing relationship, give yourself 10 out of 10. If you are struggling and having challenges in your relationship, closer to 0 out of 10. If you aren't in a relationship and you want to be, give yourself a 0 out of 10. So where would you rate your relationship with your intimate partner? Alan, having just got married, you must be in a beautiful honeymoon period, I would guess. Yeah, he smiles, so that's a good thing. So, okay. All right, I think you've got that one. Next one, we're going to move on to emotion and meaning. Now, what do I mean by emotion and meaning? There are something like 2,500 words in the English language to describe different emotions. For most of us, we will experience 12 emotions. We go to 12 emotions on a regular basis. 6 of those are often negative. And then the other 6 are spread somewhere between neutral and positive, right? If I said it a different way, the quality of your life is the quality of your emotions. So are you getting to feel the feelings that you want? Are you having like the joy, the passion, the enthusiasm, the optimism, the positive expectation, the hopefulness? Or are you stuck in things like frustration or doubt or anger or grief or fear or, unworthiness? So if you're getting all the feelings that you want to have, the wanted emotions, 10 out of 10. If you have a lot of unwanted emotions, 0 out of 10, give yourself a rating. Yep, somewhere in that mix. Like for me, I may find a lot of meaning in the fact that I get to serve clients. You know, this is meaningful for me. I get to come and help and support. You know, some of us may get meaning from that. Some may get meaning from serving the family. Some may get meaning from the charitable work that we do. We'll come on to the contribution piece in a minute. But yeah, it's just, are you getting to experience the emotions that you want?
Okay. So it's not the meaning that you create from the emotion, it's the meaning in your life.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And more so, I think, how you feel about that. Because we can all be in the same situation and give it completely different meanings, right? And I guess with your expertise, Tim, you know, you would know this better than anyone.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay, wonderful. Once we have that one, then let's move on to growth. So one of the laws of the universe is we're green and growing, or we're ripe and we're rotting. So are you getting to grow at the level that you want? So if you get into, you know, step up, change, grow, give yourself, you know, 8, 9, 10. If you feel like you're a little bit stuck or stagnated for a while, give yourself closer to a 0. But are you getting to embrace the growth? Looks like you've done that already. And then we'll move on to contribution. So this is the idea that living is giving. You know, so if you're getting to give back either through your work or through charity or with your family or in any other way, and you're fulfilled on that, give yourself a 10 out of 10. If you aren't doing the level of contribution or service that you want, then give yourself a lower rating there. So the idea of this is a great visual representation of where you are in relation to holistic success. Now, the idea or the analogy of this is, if this was a wheel on your car, how smooth would the ride be? Would it be a nice smooth ride, or would it be a bit lumpy and bumpy? Right? A lot of people are saying a little bit lumpy and bumpy. And that's very normal when we do this process. I think the important piece is, though, that what we need to do is we need to identify for each of these areas what would actually help smooth this out. What would make it a 10 out of 10? Now, the cool thing about this is I can do this process with you year after year, because your definition of what makes a 10 out of 10 changes and grows all the time. So you may define a 10 out of 10 this year and hit it. And then next year you may have an expanded identity of what a 10 out of 10 is. So what we need to be asking is, what would make a 10 out of 10 in each of these areas? Okay. Now let's look at time. Yeah, we're doing okay for time. We still got another 20 minutes. I think we can probably spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes just getting your first impressions on this. So maybe what I'll do, I'm going to stick maybe 8 minutes on the clock. You can have a minute on each, and just start defining your first impressions. What would be a 10 out of 10 in each of these areas? So let's say health. Maybe I need to define my health, like a health next year, maybe a certain body fat percentage or a certain weight, or, running my 28th or 29th marathons or whatever it is. So what would a 10 out of 10 be in health for you? So yeah, just take a minute on that one and get that written down. Okay, moving on to wealth. What would make a 10 out of 10 for you in wealth this year? You have another minute. Let's go. Alrighty, and moving on to time. What would be a 10 out of 10 for you in terms of how you spend your time in this next 12 months? One more minute. If you get any things done quicker than a minute, feel free to move on to the next category. And right now, let's move on to family and friends. What will make a 10 out of 10 in relation to family and friends? Okay, and then just moving on to intimate partner. What would make a 10 out of 10 this year if you could create that with your partner? Okay, and let's move on to emotion and meaning. What emotions do you want to experience? How would you know if you had an amazing 2025? What would you be feeling? What would you be experiencing? Alrighty, we're flying through this now. Let's move on to growth. What would you need to create in 2025 in terms of growth? In what ways would you like to grow? What areas would you like to grow? Okay, and then finally coming on to contribution. In what ways would you like to contribute? How would you like to serve in 2025? What would make that a 10 out of 10? Have another minute on that one, and then we are ready to rock and roll. Okay, so for some of you, that would have been super easy and you get it all written down quickly. Some of you would have felt like a little bit time pressured on that and you need more time. I would fall into the latter category. I like to take my time on these things. So this was just a really good place to start. And I think you can come back and flesh out the detail later on and add them in. I think the more color you can put around these 10 out of 10s, the more specific you can be, the more likely you are to start taking the actions to move towards it. Now, as a summary of all of that, I'd love to check with you What out of those, if there was one intention out of all of that you really wanted to create in 2025, or just one thing, what would it be? I think for me, I was doing something similar with one of my coaches a couple of weeks ago. I think my intention in 2025 is assets. I need to build more assets. Right now, a lot of my work is, one-on-one, and it's for my time. So I need to start building more leverage so I can serve more people in the same way, Alan, that you have with your team and putting your team in place. And I guess also financial assets as well. All of the energy has been in being great at business, but hey, why not be great at, growing the financial assets as well? So what's one intention for you in 2025? Have you got that one intention? If you have, give me a thumbs up to the camera. And if you want to share, you're more than welcome to unmute or type in the chat box. I'm happy with it either. Sometimes what happens when you verbalize it to other people, it makes it more real, or other people can say, hey, I know how I can help you with that. Let me connect you with someone. Yeah, scary and exciting at the same time. Tony, thank you for sharing that one. That's awesome. Anyone else? And by the way, that's a great example of leveling up and being uncomfortable. You're speaking out, you're sharing in front of a group of strangers. So that's wonderful. So as long as you've got one written down for yourself and you're very clear on your own intention, I'd like to ask you this question. What beliefs will you need to make this happen? What do you need to believe about yourself? Sometimes this can come down to your identity. For you to make that shift or make that change, maybe you need to see yourself in a different way. My example, right now I see myself as a business owner or a business leader. But if I'm going to create financial assets, well, I need to believe I'm an investor, right? I need to believe that, that's part of my identity, that I'm someone who, makes investments. So that may seem like a small change, but how we define ourselves is how we show up. If I start saying, hey, I'm an investor, guess what? I better do some things that are investment related. Otherwise, I'm going to feel very incongruent. Okay. So yeah, what beliefs do you need to make this happen? You're going to make this intention come real. What do you need to see? How do you need to see yourself differently? What do you need to believe differently? Maybe just write that one down for yourself. What new beliefs you have, either on your identity or about the universe. Okay. Now, I have one more question for you on this then, and I think we are nearly ready to land this planning session. The final question I have for you is, what will you feel when you create this result in your life? So Tony, when you level up and you get more, get out of your comfort zone more, how are you going to feel? So what are the feelings that you're going to create? So and this question is for all of you. When you create that intention, what are you going to feel in your life? Once you're clear on what those feelings are, and you have some, give me a thumbs up. I think just saw a thumbs up from Alan. So here's an all-important question for you. That's your ultimate target. The quality of your life is the quality of your emotions. You're looking to do things to get access to those emotions. So my question for you is, what can you do to start experiencing those feelings now? Do we have to defer those feelings for another 6 months, 12 months, 18 months till we accomplish that goal? Or are there some things we can do to experience those feelings now? Let me just write down, what are the things that you can do right now to start having those feelings more frequently? This one question could be a major game changer if you know what else you can do to get those feelings now. If I'm having those feelings and those emotions, I'm already kind of getting what I want from life anyway. And the chances are, if I'm in an upward spiral, if I'm already feeling the joy and the passion and the enthusiasm, guess what? I'm going to attract more joy, enthusiasm, and passion to me. On the other hand, if I'm stuck down in some emotions that are insecure or fear or jealousy or hatred, I attract more of that to me as well. So I completely get your perspective. We want to have a target and a goal. And if we're already satiated with those feelings, then we may not want to move towards them. But I think in my experience, if you're someone who's feeling enthusiasm, passion, and joy, you want to just attract more of that and create more of that to you as well. Now, Tim, I know we could probably go into a deep conversation around this with your skill set and your expertise. So I think there's a good conversation there. But I think the point is, from this perspective, if you want to have feelings, that make you feel great, why defer them? Why wait 6 months, 12 months, 18 months? If we can have them now, let's pull them in now. Just to make sure we get you off of this call on time, if you can experience how you can have these feelings now, let's step into them. Let's start experiencing them now. Now, how do we create the intentions that you set? I've noticed with all of the successful people I've worked with and coached and mentored, but anyone to create anything in their life, they go through 4 phases. Number 1, they idealize. Okay, you just idealize. You've got a very clear goal you made. Hey, this is what I want. I want a 10 out of 10 in these areas. This is what my ideal solution would look like. Once we have that idealization, we visualize it. If we can get a clear visualization or sensorization, we can see in our mind of what that's going to be like to be there, then we feel more motivated to go towards it. And then when we verbalize it, when we tell other people, you know, here's what I'm creating, here's what I'm working on, I'm going to run this marathon, I'm going to, you know, get this client, I'm going to set up this group, I'm going to do whatever it is. Once we tell other people, then it begins to materialize, then it shows up. Okay, these are the 4 steps. So from today, you've done this idealization. Step 1 for you is you can flesh it out, put a little bit more detail on your 10 out of 10. But 2, then start to visualize it. Can you put up a vision board that represents this? Can you get a clear image in your mind of what it's going to be like? And then can you start telling other people? Once you start telling other people, opportunities come your way. You know, people start to support you and put you in there, put you in the place. Now, quick recap then of everything we covered. We have got clear on what you're grateful for, identified your wins, reflected on what you've learned. We've identified the 8 holistic areas so you can have holistic success next year. We've set some clear intentions. We've got clear on the feelings we want and how to attract them towards us. And we've gone through the 4 steps that we need to manifest those things and bring them into our life. So I have one final question for you then, is what immediate action can you take now to move yourself towards these goals? What's one thing off of the back of this call? If you just do one thing that moves you towards this, what would it be? Just get one action in your mind. If we start with one action to get the ball rolling, that would be great. I'd love for you to just either unmute or quickly type in the chat box. If there's one key lesson or insight from this call today that you got from the call, the biggest insight, biggest realization, what would that be? Either type in the chat box or unmute and shout it out, and then we'll get you off the call in 1 minute so you can go to your next session. All right. Well, if anyone else wants to share, you're more than welcome to, or otherwise I want to make sure I get you off back to your day. Regarding anything from here, I said today was purely to be of service and of value, and it was. And I also want to just extend, if I can help you any further in any way with accomplishing these things, feel free to reach out to me. I think you've all got my personal email address. We've all been in contact anyway, but if you did want to book in a time, you know, particularly around the profitability of business or maximizing the profit, you're more than welcome to scan this QR code and book a time, or you want me, so you can drop me an email. Be more than happy to. Jim, thank you. The wheel analogy really helped visualize the gaps. Is one thing to think about these gaps, but visualizing is something different. Yeah, the visualization tool is super helpful. So thank you all for participating so much. These sessions can be very challenging if people don't show up and participate. So you guys have done a really great job, and I hope this sets you off to a really great 2025. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you there. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And thank you all for participating so fully today, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Life Changing Questions podcast with your host, Kevin Bees. We'll catch you next time.